Okay, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
You know, in the audience, and I hope the audience will grow little by little. My name is Sorin Nastasia. I'm the director of the International Studies program in the College of Arts and Sciences at SIUE. Like for previous editions, in the past few months and weeks, I have collaborated with faculty, students, organizational representatives, and community members to put together an exciting series of events for the 7th edition of International Studies Day at SIUE, with the purpose of showcasing what the International Studies program, the College of Arts and Sciences, and SIUE have to offer. I hope you will enjoy this day of events. A special thank you to all those who have contributed to making International Studies Day a success. They are listed on the back of the program that you have in front of you. 3 small requests for those attending. Please connect through social media throughout the day. Share photos and comments about the event at SIUE INTS. If you are on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter or X, we have the same handle, SIUE INTS or SIUE INTS Day. Please complete the event evaluation form. If you stay for just one event, then at the end of that event, or if you stay for the whole day of events, then by the end of the day. So on all the tables for each seat, you have a program and one of these evaluation forms. Please remember that there are sign-up sheets available if your professors are offering extra credit for attending, and we will have food for breakfast and lunch, as well as prizes to draw throughout the day. Our first panel discussion of the day is international resources from our region available to students. Community leaders from the St. Louis metropolitan area and the academic experts will provide an overview of opportunities for engagement with organizations with an international focus and for study abroad. So now let's hear from our first speaker, Han Ko, President and CEO, USA Co. Group, St. Louis County Commissioner.
Thank you. Almost like we were doing a practice here, so I guess it's working. Good. The person in red, are you a media person?
Yes, the recording is working.
Oh, good. Can you take a couple pictures for me? For us, I mean? I'm sharing this with visitors. So
I will take also
okay,
pictures.
perfect, yeah. So what I can just, how it works, right? You don't have to slide it. Well, actually, this is, I've been here a few times. Professor Nastasia always invite me, so I have a privilege to be here a few times. As a matter of fact, this picture right here, this was taken 2 years ago, 2022, down in, a couple of years ago, right?
I think it was earlier, 2017, 18.
18?
Because
Before
the pandemic. Before the pandemic.
Right, before the pandemic, correct, yeah. Right. Anyway, yeah, so I've been here a few times, and yeah, so anyway, it's always a pleasure and privilege to be part of this program. And I go by Sorin because he's my friend, and the professor Sorin, he is always active, and SIUE is a very respectful university. So it's always a pleasure. And also another good thing about it is that when I come here, I always see good professional here. Here usually I know them, like Carlos, he's my friend, and he's here. So it's always a pleasure to see gather up the professionals gather up. And the back there, Leluca, Sylvia. Shh. All right. Anyway, they're talking in Romania. Hey, we'll get to them. There's good people to say hello. All right. Anyway, so today's topic, I was told that what international resources available to students and community, right? So. Got a laser here. Yeah. So you see the word "go global" with USACO Group. So what it means is that my company USACO Group. I'll tell you more about it. Since we have a lot of time, I'm going to in depth give you explanation and give some examples of what actual resources available, how you can take advantage of okay. So. So first, that's the pictures. I already talked about this picture. This picture was actually taken, most of these pictures are taken by myself, okay? So this is a picture taken in, I have an office in Seoul, South Korea, so it's taken there. A lot of actual students and registered professionals coming to be part of the economic development and also learn about the market. Okay, so since there were only a few of us, I think only a couple of them are students. The gentleman with the black hat, what's your name, sir?
Joshua.
Joshua. Are you a student?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what do you study?
International Studies, Asian Studies, and Mass Comm.
Oh, okay. What is your goal? Curious. Your career goal. What do you want to do?
Right now I'm looking at a couple of options, one of which is a grad program in Vermont for humanitarian aid and crisis management. I'm also looking at possibly trying Oxford seminars for a little bit before that, maybe teaching English abroad, and getting into journalism. Actually, yesterday, after yesterday's presentation, I was watching. I might even take some photography courses and consider photojournalism and all that as well.
Gotcha. Okay, great. And the media person, what's your name, man? Your
River.
River?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Are you studying?
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you study?
I'm also an international studies major. My focus is development and sustainability, and I'm an Asian studies minor already.
Wow. I'm actually glad to hear two very important majors, humanitarian and then environmental. Actually, I can explain to you a couple examples that I'm currently involved with the summer students and then in school and industry. I'll tell you more about my background, but you can benefit from information that I have as an option, okay? So any other students here? You're a student too, right? What's your name again? I forgot your name. Ankar, right? You're from Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
What do you study?
Computer science.
Computer science, okay? I'm a CS degree myself. We'll talk about that too. Anyway, going back to pictures. So this is another picture taken in doing the program like this one in South Korea. And this logo right here, Seoul Startup Hub, it's actually, my company is a global partner with South Korean government. So I have an office in Seoul Startup Hub. Startup Hub is like a business incubation center in a steroid. Okay, there's like 600 businesses in that small campus, not small, large campus, biggest one. So I have an office there, and we constantly have to run a program, something like this all the time. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I think we talked a little bit about it. So I think it's going to be pretty much stuff. So again, my name is Han Ko. I'll tell you about who I am. A second here. Let me go to the next one.
Connectors. But use the arrows in the computer.
Maybe I should, yeah. It's locked somehow. Maybe I it doesn't let me go to the next one. I don't know why.
Maybe get out of the PowerPoint and
Yeah, maybe.
start it again.
Okay, so I'll do it again. Here we go.
The system is suggesting to us not to stay too much on one slide.
Yeah, maybe. Right. You why is that doing this? It's actually somehow it's locking on that screen. I'll just manually go here.
If you want, I can manually do
Yeah,
that.
you can do that.
Oh,
I
there
guess,
you go.
yeah. Well,
Now
thank you.
it might work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Good. So, let's shade it out here. Maybe you can turn off one of the lights or something.
No, I think it's that's in your slide.
Slide, yeah.
It's the
Okay,
color of the
yeah.
slide.
Anyway, yeah, so I'll stand right here. So, obviously it's me, and my background is, I have a industry, yeah, that's better, thank you. Industry and academia background. Okay, I currently serve as a faculty professor in a university called Midwestern University, here local, in west side of St. Louis side. Okay, so I live here. I live in this area. So that's what I mean. I'm actually a faculty in the space of business development and actually business incubation development in Midwestern University. And but I have a technical background, like on-car. Reference, right? On-car, right? So I have a degree. I have a PhD in engineering. Okay, so I have computer science, electrical engineering background, and I wrote a software when I was young, about 35 years, more than 35 years ago. But yeah, so wrote software, filed a patent, and then I eventually I wrote a software myself, and then I sold the licenses to telecom industry, and then you sold the company. I don't know, there's a company called Lucid Technology. Yeah, that's where I sold my company. So that's how I learned Oh, okay. This is how we call it now. We call it venture capital space, right? So I'm a venture capitalist. That's what gives me a venture capital space right here. Okay. So because of my academic background, I still engage in teaching. I don't teach full time, but engaged in teaching sometimes, and then also a little research, as well as helping out the business development in the school. Okay, so that's what I do. So now I'm actually a more investor right now, and then mentoring various venture capital, and then AC stands for Accelerator Program Investment. So program names are like MVP, and then Trailing Ventures, WIFAX, and then actually WIFAX is actually stands for Women in Funds. So program is actually focused on companies that are owned by female, because in venture capital space, gender is not completely balanced yet. That's how I see it. So we focus on helping companies 51% or more owned by female. So we give preference, and we give more mentoring, sometimes funding. Okay, that's one example. But then Capital University is our local program, and our industry focused on is AI, robotics, and blockchain, all kinds of different types of things. Okay. Anyway, also as Soren mentioned, I currently serve as a St. Louis County Commission. I'm one of the commissioners in economic development. So that helps me to understand the market and how I can. So we constantly think about, okay, how when I say St. Louis County, I'm appointed by St. Louis County executive and also the governor, but on the majority side. But the way I see it is that St. Louis means that Southern Illinois, St. Louis County, St. Charles County, everywhere. It's like Monroe County, St. Clair County, everywhere. Okay. So when I call it Greater St. Louis. All right. So that's how I do it. So my passion is that, of course, I love to working with people in investment side of it, and then also economic development. Okay, because for us to be successful, we have to have a successful economy. Period. Right? Because you try to build a career because you want to be economically successful, right? So that's what it is. So I lived here long enough so that it's my home. I want our region to be successful. So I constantly consider those ideas and try to work together with our people. Okay? So here's a founder and investor of multiple tech startups. As a venture capitalist with a technical background, computer science, electrical engineering background, always start a company. Okay, I not only invest but actually start a company. There's multiple companies I started, and then we exited. Exited meaning we sold the company, and I've done this all the time. So average every year, start about one every 3 years, start a new one. In the meantime, of course, we invest in multiple companies. Okay, so I'll try to focus on the companies that in our region. So hopefully, somebody like you gentlemen wanna get an idea. I wanna start a company or something. Maybe we can help. All right. I cannot promise, but yeah, we can help. Right. So. Now here, I serve on the board of Chamber of Commerce, it's the Asian American Chamber of Commerce. I'm currently a board member. So it's going back to my passion about economic development for our region. Okay, so not only as a commissioner, I also serve on the board of Chamber of Commerce to help out. That's what I do. And then also, I'm also on the board of economic development in Southern Illinois side of it too. So I'm serving on multiple boards. So it's my passion. And also, not only that, I'm strongly interested in mentoring and cultivating the young generation, especially like a student generation, to be successful in their career development, as well as if you have a business idea, maybe you can help. We can help. Okay, so that's what this come in. This paragraph come in. So I'm a judge of arts grants, and then International Blockchain Association. RoboCup. Like STEM is one of the field that has big demand, as you know, right? We talked about, we had a actually conversation about AI last week, and Soren attended that. But okay, AI is gonna drive the world, so technology is important. So I'm not gonna get into too much details because we're gonna talk about international resources today. But talk about international resources, you cannot really stay away from important topics, current trend. So you will see these current trend touch base over and over, especially with the technology background, investment background, and what we call academic background. I'll touch base on that. Okay. So I'm trying. What I meant is that I try to make this presentation really in a practical way, so students or even anybody, faculty or administrator in this university can be benefit from it. Okay. So oh yeah, so engaged there. So speaking, yeah, I've engaged in multiple professional speaking engagement over time, many years. So for CES, have you heard about what CES stands for? Have you heard about it? No? This is something you definitely want to know today. Consumer Electronics Show. It's the largest international conference in all the continents, and most of the continents, the USA, I mean, this is, the main one is in North America, not North America, USA, Las Vegas every year, January, okay? Right? And there's one China that's called CES Asia, Chinese is hosting it. But this one, that's usually about 200,000 or 300,000 people gathering in period 1 week. And if you haven't heard about it, I would suggest to Google or learn about it, okay? Because if you want to build a career, you want to know what the world trend is, where the world is going, and you want to know the what people are doing, you need to know about it, okay? So that's something you are definitely need to. So I'm their speaker every year, so I spoke at January earlier this year. And you know what this is? It's called, we call it South by Southwest. Have you heard about it? Yeah, South by Southwest is something definitely you want to know, okay? You can take a note. So what this is another conference in Austin, Texas. This started about almost 20 years ago, but has been grown. So this one, so CES, this one is, the key word is that technology, investment, entrepreneurship. Okay, that's really focused on that. People globally all over the world coming together. When you say 300,000 people merge in one place in a period of 1 week, that means something, right? That's what they do. And then for this one, about 200,000 people gather up in Austin, Texas every year. I was there last month. This was about a month ago. And I was speaking there too. This one is again, technology, investment, culture, music, film. Okay? So this is a little more broad. Okay? So a lot of young generation, like students, are usually coming to enjoy. You'll see the people line up in the theater. You buy a badge, and then you go to a whole town of different movies, films, stuff. Okay, I'm usually there for investment, technology side. Okay, and then another show. Also, money show is this is international investment conference hosted by South Korean government. So I'm there. I'll be here as a speaker. So yeah. Next slide, please. Okay, yeah. So we learned international resources for students. So I actually prepare in two different categories. One is an academic perspective. Okay, in the field of academic industry, academic category. In other words, industry. So academic is something. Oh, as a student, what can we get the resource from as a student, right? Right, in academic field. Another one is more practical. Where and how can we get the opportunities from the actual industry? Okay, so I'll give you explanation and then also some examples of it. And then a lot of examples is actually what I do, so you know that you can that this is how it works, right? So I suppose you are most of you here to learn about stuff. So first is academic institutions. And then, like SIUE, great university. By the way, you guys are students here, so you're really fortunate to be part of this great school, actually. Yeah. So, and then other colleges, and then there's multiple national programs and local regional programs, and there's profits I should say for profits, and then non-profits, internships. There are multiple programs out there, and I'm gonna dive into this topic, and as I go, I'm gonna give you examples of that. Okay, right. Right, okay, it takes a minute to load. So thanks, Lorian, appreciate it. Okay, good. So, international resources for students. So in economic development perspective, so I told you that I'm going to talk about two different categories, right? So first category is academic, academic perspective. Okay, there are multiple programs. I'm going to start with high level, meaning national, and then dive into down to regional and local. Okay. So I kind of developed this talk today as like three-dimensional, if you know what I mean, right? So, of course, academic institutions like SIUE, you have a lot of great people like Ryan, and then faculty like Dr. Professor Anastasia, and then also other people here. So they'll be a great resource for you. In addition to that, so other universities, you want to collaborate and pay attention to other program. In other words, if somebody else hosts a program like this, International Day, other university has that, they call it different names, under different names. Try to go there. I guarantee almost always to be open to public, like this one. Okay, so you just gotta take time out, and then you just gotta do your homework, and then prepare for exam early enough so you allow time for this. Okay, so the fact that you're showing up here like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday morning, that means that you gotta write the first step, okay? If you're playing a video game too long at night and then you gotta do the homework in the morning, that's not a good way of handling your lifestyle, okay? I'm telling you. So I'm not here to babysit your schedule, by the way, but I have to say that because I'm a faculty and I've been there. I'm a parent of 2 children, so yeah. I'm not saying everybody's having the lifestyle. But, anyway, so international programs. How many of you heard about Boron Scholarship? Right. Well, faculty heard about that. So, for those of you who have not heard about it, there's something definitely take a note. Okay? There are free pens behind it. If you grab it and start writing it. Boron Scholarship
if
is
you make
actually
it interactive. I have former students who have benefited from Boron Scholarship.
perfect. Yeah, actually, Boron Scholarship. I have personal experience too. My daughter was Boron Scholar, so I know everything about it because I had to help her out and going through the process. So what Boron Scholarship does is that maybe Professor Nastasia can tell more, but it focuses on overseas language, foreign language, academics, research, internship. And then their motto is like national security components. So actually Boron program actually is also available for federal employees, U.S. federal employees. I don't know if you know this or not. Okay, so for example, all right. So if somebody works for U.S. federal government, want to have opportunity to know more about other languages, Boron is one program. Okay, but for us, for you guys, there is a very strong good program, like the professor said. I'll give you an example of my daughter. Okay, she applied it when she was actually she was recommended to apply. She didn't know the program, and then I didn't know either at the time. But professor recommended she apply. She did. She got it, and the process is there's a process involved. Okay, but just like any other application, you got to go through the process, and then when you get picked, you get to choose which country you want to go. Okay, you get to choose. So if I'm gonna go, I picked the example of South Korea because my daughter went to South Korea. So she spent 1 year, and the Scholarship Foundation sponsors, meaning giving money to her. You just have to prove that you are doing your job. Okay, it's not that strict actually. I saw this program helped her tremendously. Okay, I'm a Korean. I'm fluent in Korean. I'm bilingual. Okay, I'm fluent in Korean. I'm fluent bilingual. I call myself bilingual, bicultural person. I was born in South Korea. My kids were born here. Her Korean was not that great. After 1 year of study, she is texting me still every day to me this morning too in Korean, and then sometimes she correct me that, hey Dad, your spelling is you had a spelling error. That's how good she was. Okay, yeah, okay, got it. All right, yeah. So, and then Fulbright is another program, and I don't think I need to talk too much about it. Since 1946, this is a Fulbright scholarship is something you can get upon graduation. Okay, so and then there are multiple other exchange programs. Okay, yeah. So next please. All right, so this is another program. Examples of entity, organizations that can provide, can possibly get possibly can be international resources for you. Oops, sorry. One button here. Yeah. All right. So this is something I want to tell you. So there are multiple for-profit companies that offers programs, right? If you want to do a internship, and then if you want to study something know more about your field, like if you want a computer science field, or if you want to study cultural studies, a lot of companies offer the program as an internship. Okay, and therefore, surprisingly, a lot of non-profit programs and economic development organizations also provide a lot of those too. Okay, so for example, ACC, this Chamber of Commerce that I serve on the board, I know personally we run a program. I'm one of the board members, board officers. We make decisions. We actually run a program, mentoring program, and then we give scholarships. So this is definitely something you want to keep an eye on. Okay, and then to do that, I'll tell you, if you want to really take advantage of it, don't just apply. Oh, I want to, and then send us, your transcript. Everybody do that. You got to go a step beyond that, meaning that show up. Register on a lot of free programs out there. Register or join a member, and then show up, volunteer. That's how I do. I remember, Kathy helped us out during the program. Just simple setup like to set it up. Be a part of volunteer. They'll remember you. A lot of times they prefer those volunteers because they shows that they're serious about their career, about the community. Okay, that's one example. And the World Trade Center has that. I'm also a board member there. And then, this is the Southern Illinois Investment Trade Council that I support the board. It's local. We have that one. And MODAC it stands for District Export Council. This is U.S. federal government, U.S. Department of Commerce. I serve also on the board. We all have every single board, every single organization that I'm here. I'm personally involved. Every single organization, even though it's nonprofit, we have a program to help and to assist the students. Okay, so this could be a good international resources. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so I want to give you an example. The student exposure to examples. So instead of you try to go out of the way to go overseas and then study the language, sometimes you can start building a relationship when you're home. This is actually, I'll give a couple of examples. So this picture was taken by my phone about a couple of years ago. This was about 3 years ago. Actually, this was done in Columbia, Columbia in southern Illinois. Okay? So we were making presentations. Actually, there's a couple of mayors here and county executives here and all that. And this is a picture of companies visiting from South Korea here locally. This was taken in St. Louis. They came here to learn the market because of these business owners want to expand their operation to USA, and then I'm trying to bring them to our area. Okay, so you can actually show up. This is a public program. You can show up and attend and mingle. So you can learn that. This is how the world works. This is what the current economic trend and job trend and also career development trend goes. That's what you okay. Thank you. Next one. Okay, so then what do we do? Well, I think I told you enough about it. We're an investment company. We actually bring companies over to United States from overseas, and U.S. companies overseas. We invest in some of the companies. Okay, and a program called the Global Cycle. Recently, we did that every year. We did a program. And also, we closely work with not just Korean, but the European companies as well. So a lot of times they come. And this is actually a picture of one of the programs hosted that actually right here, this is I'm just Jim Eberlin. There are 3 people here. They're from St. Louis. Okay, St. Louis area. Actually, he is from Southern Illinois, but 2 of them St. Louis. So this picture was taken in Seoul, startup hub, the program 2019. Okay, and then these are whole group of people right here. They were students. Okay, yeah, okay, thank you. All right. Okay, good. So we're gonna speed up a little bit. So, all right. So we're gonna actually generally talk about what do we do for companies and what we in general, we investors. So actually, this is one thing I was gonna show you. We have closely involvement with the community, and this is actually a picture from actually Carl's right there, right there. This was the Afghan community came here. International institute, along with the other organizations, try to help them out. That's what it was. Okay. Anyway, go ahead, next slide, please. Okay, so we're partnered with multiple companies, organizations over in Asia, especially in South Korea, and they see that universities. So these are all government and economic development organizations. But this is KAIST is the it's like MIT, and this is top Korean university, another top Korean university. We have a direct relationship with them, and I'm also part of their visiting professor as well. Okay, so I can help like Ryan for international student programs down the road. Next slide, please. And then we have an office in St. Louis, and then also Los Angeles, and Texas, and New York, and an office in Seoul, South Korea. Okay. Next slide, please. All right. So the opportunities are actually tremendous. I think I gave you an example of how we can get to it. So next slide, please. And yeah, these are the pictures taken again. Yeah, this is the picture 2019. Yeah, so Kim, Jim, Carolyn, then multiple people from actually St. Louis, and these are the professors, and these are some of the students back there. And she's from USA, but she's originally from Ukraine, I think. Ukraine American. Anyway, yeah, so she came along with us. Anyway, that's it. And then this picture is taken from World Trade Center here locally, and there are multiple people, and some of them are students. So this is what I'm talking about. World Trade Center has a program. You could be the one sitting here. That's what I meant. Okay? Next slide, please. And how we collaborate with Illinois, I think this is an example of we work with, you see the Margot, she's the director of economic development state of Illinois. And then this is another World Trade Center meeting we had. Next slide, please. And this one is the American Central Port here locally, right here. We had Dennis is right here, the director, and then we had a meeting here. And this is a picture I think I showed you earlier, but yeah. So these are all the pictures, and you could be the one that's sitting here to learn about it. Okay, that's what I meant. Go next slide, please. And there's a couple more pictures. I'm going to just go by pictures. This was a picture taken in actually South Korea, and then we were invited by South Korean government to business development, and then multiple other programs. Okay? So actually investment training, mentoring, all that, right? So this is a program. We had a meeting with South Korean government. So I'm going to skip that. Next slide. And the example oversee advantage of South Korean market. So I think Ryan mentioned that if you have interest in, you should consider a South Korean country, South Korea, because number one, I tell you, number one, it's ally. Okay, you're not going to some country who will try to strongly compete with us. Okay, you should consider it now, because before it didn't matter, but now a lot of our between markets are we have frictions, right? De-risking, decoupling, you heard about it, right? So some of countries, you spend too much time, you try to get a federal job down the road, it's going to get in your way. I'm serious about it, okay? So you've got to think about that, okay? Yeah, the next slide, please. So I'm going to just touch base about it. So in South Korean market is great because number one, they're a highly skilled market, and you can have a lot of different options in terms of training and experience. Okay. Next slide, please.
Sorry, we will have to think of
Sure.
the time also,
Sure.
your colleagues, because your slot time is until 10.
Oh, right. Okay, got it. Yeah.
45.
So I'm done. So last slide.
Yes,
And
yes.
if you want to write that by email, or I can give you my business card. And thanks so much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Yes. Next, Next, we will hear from our next panelist, Carlos Suarez, Director of Economic Development, International Institute of St. Louis.
Great, thank you. I can test it. There we go, it
I'll
works.
just,
Perfect, thanks. Well, thank you guys for having me here this morning. Thank you, Dr. Nastasia Soren. I've also had the pleasure of knowing Soren for the last several years, and this is my first time on campus other than speaking virtually, I think, a few years back, in the midst of the pandemic. So glad to finally meet more people in person, kind of as we're getting out of the pandemic. I know there's still a lot going on. But as Dr. Nastasia mentioned, my name is Carlos Suarez. I'm the Director of Economic Development at the International Institute of St. Louis. For those in the room, how many are familiar with the International Institute of St. Louis? Most everyone. Has anybody been to the International Institute of St. Louis before? Got a couple people? All right. Well, the International, this is our building, actually. We're located in South St. Louis, in the city. And our mission is to provide opportunities for immigrants and refugees to thrive so that we can create a welcoming, prosperous, and healthy region for everyone. And that's part of our bigger vision and mission, but our work has been going on since 1919. So we're more than 100 years old that have been dealing with welcoming immigrants, and in particular refugees, to the St. Louis region, St. Louis community, and at large. I was also glad when Han asked earlier, what are some of your interests and what are you pursuing? Because a lot of our work has, I would say, crosses multiple spectrums. But a big part of it is the humanitarian issues that we face today in the world. And as we know that there's a lot of crises taking place when we're talking about Sudan, Afghanistan, Ukraine, Venezuela, there's a lot of need out there in our work. And so, according to the United Nations High Commissioner on Refugees, there's more than 110 million individuals that are currently displaced outside of their countries or internally displaced. And so there's a huge need of humanitarian support in the world, and that's a big part of where the International Institute plays a role. We are a federal partner between the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, the International Organization for Migration, in welcoming new individuals, predominantly refugees, to the St. Louis community that come through those programs. And right now, St. Louis, we're expected to welcome over 1,000 individuals to the St. Louis region over the course of 12 months, predominantly from Afghanistan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Iraq, Syria, Venezuela, and a number of other countries. And I would say we probably provide services up to 5,000 people throughout the course of the year. So what happens when someone comes to St. Louis as a refugee or through this process? Well, first we find them housing. We're looking for them to have a place to stay. We enroll them in programs and services and benefits throughout the state, throughout the community. And provide a lot of long-term, from short-term to long-term support, everywhere from 3 months to up to several years of support for these individuals, just kind of depending on what program and service they're enrolled in. But at the end of the day, our objective, again, is to provide immigrants and refugees support to not only survive, but to thrive in our region and to be welcomed as such. And so my role as the Director of Economic Development is more so on the, I would say, longer term side of those that are wanting to start a new business as entrepreneurs here in the community, walking alongside them to do that, whether it's from accessing capital, the loans and lending. We have microloans anywhere from $500 up to $65,000 that individuals can borrow in order to participate in the American economy. Also, as people are coming through, they have zero background history, don't have any credit. So we help establish them that into the St. Louis community as soon as possible so that they can start building their life and integrating into the U.S. banking system, essentially. So that's predominantly about the International Institute of St. Louis. You know, talking about resources that are here in the community, I just did want to touch upon some key points throughout some of my career. So I have been at the International Institute for the last 2.5 years. I was working for a few startups before then, and then also for another international NGO working alongside the United Nations and some of its agencies, really around youth, empowering young people to address some of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, those familiar with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And also locally, I serve as the president of the United Nations Association, where we're really championing the work of the United Nations, 17 Sustainable Development Goals, human rights, and advocating for the work of the UN here in the St. Louis region. So a big part of these experiences is that I'm just going to talk about relationships. And relationships, for me, is what have gotten me to where I'm at in my career journey. And building those connections to opportunities. Han also mentioned a big part of that is some of the programs that are between universities or businesses and even nonprofits that offer access into internships or even work after graduating. They really help with expanding and connecting with others. So for getting into those kind of networks, those are really powerful ways to build relationships in the space. As you might be on campus most of the time, I would say getting into those places where you can connect with individuals like Han and others in the community can really provide leverage to wherever you want to go in your future career. And just because there's some resources that are here locally, for example, with the United Nations Association, we will be going to DC here in June for a leadership summit, and that's a fantastic way of connecting with especially individuals from the U.S. Department of State, from the United Nations itself, and others that if you're looking for a career in that kind of space, it's a really good point of entry and just to establish those relationships and know how to network and connect within that space itself, because big institutions also come with big bureaucracy and it's a lot to manage, so knowing how those different entities work, it's a good advantage to start that, thinking through that now. And Han and others and Dr. Nastasia, there's a lot of great experience and knowledge here in the room, so leveraging that knowledge to help guide you in your future. We actually were just, my team from the International Institute, some other organizations, we were just in Dallas actually last week for a conference called Welcoming Interactive. There's an organization called Welcoming America that really works with primarily local governments on how do cities and regions become more inclusive, more welcoming to immigrants especially, and those that are coming from other parts of the world. And so, part of that experience is connecting with other leaders from other parts of the United States in particular, building on those experiences, what are their needs, and how are they working to create those kind of communities. And we were able to network with quite a few other organizations from around the U.S. There was over 800 people in attendance. And getting to these kind of events, again, is like really about relationship building. Like while there's a lot of sessions with great content and information, there's a lot of people that end up in these spaces that you want to get connected with that can really provide access to other resources, connections, and again, just a way to learn from each other. So we had several people from our team. There was another individual from the St. Louis Mosaic Project, for those that are familiar with that, or the World Trade Center, and Vitendo for Africa, which is another local organization working with predominantly individuals, African youth. Also leading to what I mentioned earlier, just engaging. Han also brought up volunteering. So volunteering is another great way of, one, building access to your network, learning from that experience, and again, relationships which are extremely important in providing some of those connections. For those that get involved, I would say some associations, whether it's a student-driven association, I'm sure there's a lot of clubs and organizations here on campus that SIUE offers. And are any of you involved in a student organization or anything like that? Great. Which one are you involved in, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, just like a club here on campus, I'm the secretary of the radio club.
The radio club? All right. Great. So like having that role as secretary, you're kind of learning some of the administration, but also you're doing something that you're passionate about, being in radio, media, and that like media is a big part of also storytelling. I'll say part of that conference is one thing that we learned is, or was emphasized, is really the power of controlling the narrative, sharing the narrative, and being controlling that story that goes out about the work that we're doing. So again, and especially with the pandemic, it's really forced us to get into a virtual mode. So it's easier to make those connections, but I would say it can be a challenge with maintaining those relationships just in a virtual environment. So again, I appreciate all those that came today, this morning, because it's really a good way of putting the face with the name and building those relationships from the very beginning. And if you get a chance to travel, whether it's through study abroad or through other programs, even if it's a conference for a weekend or a few days, again, just getting to those different environments is really important.
I wanted to mention that our students have an obligation to take 6 credits of study abroad by the time of graduation.
Great. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a great opportunity. Taking advantage of that is amazing. And then this is also a photo from the United Nations Association. We were in New York at the United Nations for a Global Engagement Summit. So again, just emphasizing it's great to be in these kind of spaces. One, for those connections that are made. 2 is the type of discussions that are taking place. And I was glad we had several people from St. Louis heading up and kind of really dedicating that time. This is a one-day summit that takes place every year in February. So it's something I think fairly attainable to get to just for a day, and like really strong connections that are there. And there's just always opportunities by connecting, by traveling, by getting involved in these networks. This is some photos from our leadership summit last year for the United Nations Association. There is a day of advocacy that takes place on Capitol Hill. So we were meeting with congressional representatives, Cori Bush's office, some other Senate offices, talking about like why this work is important to us, why it matters, and why they should support work of whether it's the United Nations, refugees, and a lot of those kind of pressing issues at this time, because I know there's a big kind of a political environment right now when it comes to immigration is a hot topic, but really voicing our opinion on why that matters. So again, these are really great opportunities to get involved and to be part of those networks. So I just wanted to share that. Other opportunities, just plugs real quick, that are coming up. So the International Institute, we're hosting a race for refugees this Sunday in Tower Grove Park. So if you get a chance to come out to St. Louis, it's a really way of not only racing for a good cause, but really participating in supporting the work that we're doing, and again, meeting other people that you might not have met otherwise. So that'll be this Sunday. And then, how many of you are familiar with the Festival of Nations? Most of you, so great. Well, the biggest multicultural festival here in the region, back in Tower Grove Park, St. Louis, August 24th and 25th, over 100,000 people in attendance. Lots of experiences. Food is a big draw, of course, from, I would say, over 80 countries represented. So just another way of spending your time and getting involved. And then just if you want to follow some of us, and I'm happy to share my contact information with Dr. Nastasia to stay in contact. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you want to stop by the International Institute, happy to show you kind of our work.
I wanted to ask you, I thought we had from the International Studies program people doing internships with the International Institute in previous years, maybe before the pandemic?
Yeah, I don't know much of the history pre-pandemic, but I would think so. And if we do work with universities for internship programs at the International Institute, so if there's been a gap in that, we'd be happy to kind of establish that, because there's also been a lot of changes at the International Institute ourselves. So
I'm sure that they are very much interested.
definitely. Well, I'm happy to share my contact information and point in the right direction.
And I think people can volunteer at your Festival of Nations. I've been a volunteer many times.
Well, thank you. Yeah, like volunteer, a lot of our work is based on the support of volunteers overall. Whether it's the Festival of Nations, where we have several hundred people volunteering over the course of the weekend, or throughout the course of the year, there's just a lot of need that we have, a lot of opportunities, and we have a whole volunteer section on our website, so feel free to check that out for more details, or if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. But great point. So thank you very much, and appreciate being here, and thank you again for having me.
Okay, last but not least, and we will have then a session of questions and answers if you are interested. We have my very good friend, Ryan Donald, study abroad specialist from the International Affairs at SIE, the people who take students from here abroad or bring foreign students or faculty from other countries.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to be here. It's this morning, and I always feel, though, a little out of place because everyone else is talking about how great our campus is or this region, and I'm here to convince people to leave. But no, part of it and what makes it work is that we are strategically located in this region. We cater to students across Illinois, across the region. Some are coming from big cities like Chicago, of course, and St. Louis. But then we're also getting students from smaller places in the southern areas or even up north where they're coming from towns of 1,000 or things like that. And while they get this opportunity to interact with other cultures here, one of the big things, though, that they get to do with SIUE is also look to connect with the world. And it's fitting and pun intended in some ways, but it really can be a gateway not just to the West but to the world through SIUE, and probably fitting that we fly out of St. Louis right near the Arch to do a lot of that. But today just wanted to talk first a little bit about what we do offer for students and in some cases faculty as well. And so to start off, why study abroad? It can be one where there's a lot of things that you can look at and say, oh, it's too long, I don't have the time, there's money costs, monetary, things of that nature, it's complicated. Some of that, I'll say, can be helped by just talking and looking through and realizing that sometimes the process can be long, but it doesn't necessarily always need to be complicated and those type of things. But all of that said, why study abroad? What are some of the positives in all of that? The ones that you see are basically some of what I would call general positives in the sense of when done well, we see study abroad having an increased awareness of the world. I mean, you get to go and walk, if you would, in someone else's footsteps for a little while, or I'd even say in a better terminology, you get to walk alongside of them. So you get to go and see maybe what students in other countries are like, what they're doing, their hopes and dreams, what their struggles are. And I think it's interesting. Well, there's a lot of differences, and those can be fun to explore and learn. Especially, I think, at the college level, you start to see there's also a lot of similarities. The dislike of exams, the toughness of papers, the daily student life of balancing video games versus, yes, you have to get up in the morning to make class. There's a lot of similarities as well in ways that students can interact and engage. We say decrease prejudice and suspicions. Part of that is, unless you go and meet someone, you are in danger of forming your opinion of them based on newspapers, based on media, based on the opinions of others and things like that. Whereas if you go and if you can meet someone, I think especially if you can go immerse in their culture, you get an opportunity to see behind those headlines. You get an opportunity, like I mentioned earlier, to walk alongside them, to talk with them. And so, again, when done well and done correctly, these are some of the things we see. Of course, the unique academic and life experiences, a couple quick examples I usually use. We have great programs here, great opportunities, but if you have an interest in coral reefs and tropical ecology and stuff like that, not going to do well trying to dive in the Mississippi, but through study abroad we can connect you with opportunities to go to Costa Rica or go to New Zealand, somewhere where you're going to get opportunities to do that. With business, if you're looking to do even international business, and as you've probably noticed, even here in the US, a lot of businesses are internationally connected, even if in a sense they're considered American businesses. And so getting a chance to go do an internship or to do something like that as part of your business major and adding that experience where you go and work with a company in South Korea or somewhere of that nature can be, of course, a benefit. And then more of the personal ones, this goes to the individual students. What are your life goals, your personal growth, growing in confidence, getting some of those soft skills that can be like, well, how do you learn this? How do you learn problem solving, looking through and navigating? And you may not always think about it, but if you're going to study abroad, if it's not one of your natural languages, you're going to have to problem solve to figure out either learn the language, navigate maybe the subway system or the bus systems, navigate how to buy groceries. You may not think about it, but during those times you are starting to develop what, again, we call some of these soft skills in managing how to get through your day-to-day, the problem solving. A lot of those are skills that employers are very much interested in because you're not going to graduate and go and it's going to be usually a cookie cutter everyday type experience. You're going to be throwing, as we would say, curveballs, things that come out of nowhere. And, oh, this wasn't taught in my classes. Well, it was in a sense, if you go back and look at the roots of what you were taught, the structures on which you can then problem solve, and things like study abroad can help sharpen those. Study abroad is also considered a high impact practice, which just honestly is a fancy term that we use now to kind of sum up what research shows to be, as it says, very simple, higher impact practices. So something that has a higher rate of return in terms of when you're involved with it. Research, again, has shown, generally speaking, that we have increased those that are studying abroad graduate at higher levels than others. Their GPAs are kind of higher. I find an interesting thing, a little bit of a paradox, is the research has also shown that they not only graduate sooner, but with more credits. And so I'm like, maybe it's the summer trips or something like that, but again, some of the fallacy is study abroad is going to put you back. If you go, you're going to be off track, and the research actually shows the opposite. Carlos was mentioning the networking. This gives you a chance to expand that network to an international level. It can also expand it to those that you maybe are traveling with, because you're going to meet, whether it be our faculty-led trips, so other students, our faculty, or if you're going through some of our partners, you're going to get a chance to meet other US-based students that will have similar interests to you because they picked the same program you picked. And so again, it's a chance to network and do that. And of course, your enhanced career opportunities, whether that's just kind of helping your resume stand out, or if it's really expanding that network to say, I want to go international, I want to do something like this, and maybe it's through one of the connections you make during your time abroad that you're able to develop that. I've had students that go back later to do, whether it be teaching or something like that, because of the door that was opened. And sometimes it's not even to the country they went to as a study abroad, but it was that step that almost kind of broke the dam, so to speak, of like, I can do this, that then motivated them and provided them the platform to go back and do that later. Our students around the world, what he said is we do send people from Edwardsville to pretty much every part of the world. We have programs across the regions. We have different types of programs, anything from about 10 days over spring break to a full academic year. We have programs that are direct programs, we have exchange programs, we have faculty-led. In a nutshell, basically, we have a lot of choices because we know not everyone is the same, their schedule's not the same, their interests are not the same. So this allows us to work with you. You're not just dumped on something, but us to work with you to find an opportunity that works for your schedule, your goals, and so on. So to do so, we have partnerships that allow us to be in almost 60 countries at this point. There's over 300 different programs represented. Madrid, for instance, will have 5 or 6 programs just in there, so there is some overlap, but we've also done work to try to provide opportunities throughout the entire world. And so whether that be Asia, Africa, the Middle East, Europe, South America, Central America, the Caribbean, North America even, we do have opportunities. Academic credit is still the #1 thing students do, but internships is an increasingly popular option where you could go and pair either by itself and just do an internship. We have some students that do that, or they pair it with some coursework. Field research and volunteer work are other opportunities. Volunteer, usually being something you add on to what you're already doing. But again, it's an opportunity, as was discussed, is like, how do you, in a sense, I would say two things. One, set yourself apart if you're looking to join an organization.